But we're not done, sadly. The bad news rolls on. Microsoft is reportedly considering canceling Marvel's Blade and shutting down its developer, Arkane, who, I friendly remind you, they already shut down half of Arkane, one of their 2 studios. So, The Verge said Arkane is one of the studios that Microsoft is considering closing, and Blade's release window was delayed internally. They were now looking at late 2027, and it's over budget. This is according to their report. Blade, of course, from the team behind Deathloop, was announced in December of 2023 with a reveal trailer, but we've seen nothing of it since. Arkane may be sold rather than closed, The Verge added, which is in line with all the other studios that are apparently being evaluated here. The process may take some time, and even if the studios are spun off, they might not avoid layoffs. The news of Blade's potential cancellation comes just recently after Bethesda Game Studios head Todd Howard was quoted as saying that he'd recently seen what the Deathloop team at Arkane Lion was cooking up and was impressed. He says, quote, "I'm not at liberty to say when we'll see more, but I saw some stuff not yesterday, but yesterday when he gave the quote back in May. And the folks at Arkane are doing a really, really great job." So there's a couple pieces here. Fixer, let's just start with the top level piece of Arkane being completely in jeopardy, and obviously the Blade project being in jeopardy.
Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking, right? Again, I think we've all been looking over, as Xbox fans, we've all been looking over at Sony and been like, wow, look at look at Spider-Man. Look what they did with Miles, and then obviously Wolverine's coming out this year, and you're like, oh, I wish Xbox would get a Marvel IP, and then they get an IP that me, for one, I'm super excited about, Blade. It feels like Blade's cursed, by the way. I'm just putting it out there. Yeah, Blade is totally cursed. He started the Marvel movies and how well we have got to today, but Blade is cursed. But yeah, no, it's heartbreaking. I still remember watching a documentary on the studio not too long ago and how they made Dishonored, and being like, wow, seeing the tech behind that and what actually goes into how they make their games is phenomenal. But the problem is they make a game like Deathloop. I don't think it sold too well, if I'm not mistaken. And then, yeah, you close half the studio and then you start looking at the balance sheet. You start looking at numbers like, you're how much over budget and you're already delayed? Like, again, this is why I'm not as passionately angry about, because I can kind of rationalize it in my head a little bit more. But for me, it's still heartbreaking on a human level. Number one, like, to see Arkane and their team go through struggles. It's hilarious hearing people like Todd speak, and as soon as you read the quote, you're like, he wasn't supposed to say that. We know for a fact he's gonna get a. Did you really have to do that? Or it was a smart ploy by him to be like, hey, I'm trying to save you guys here. If I say something, maybe it gets high enough up in the chain that someone goes, maybe we should reconsider. But yeah, no, heartbreaking. Heartbreaking is the first thing. I really do hope we do see this game. But I'm not, in this new Xbox world, I'm not too surprised. But yeah, man, Blade. Do you not think Blade would have been cool? Like, that would have been a cool project to see, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Blade in that studio's hands could have just been really unique.
Yeah.
Michael?
Arkane is probably one of my top studios going on still to this day, man. The lineage from all the immersive sims back in the day with Deus Ex, even going back to System Shock, all the way up through Dishonored and till now with Prey and with Deathloop, and then putting them onto the Blade franchise. Like, there's a lot to chew on here. First off, I do not want Arkane to see Arkane dissolve in any form. They have been some of the most consistently great developers. Like, Redfall was a don't get me wrong though, Redfall
mismanaged. It comes back to the
Redfall's ass,
right?
Yeah, okay, good.
We know.
There,
oh no, I was gonna say
a bit like Mexico and football, not very good,
Hey, whoa, relax. Like, Redfall was a huge. Like, that was not great by any means. And like, you had Phil up there saying like, oh man, maybe we should have been like more hands-on with this. Like, and that goes back to what we were saying earlier about Xbox failing to be good stewards of talented studios. Redfall was ass, and like Phil Spencer kind of took the blame for that, more or less. But that doesn't erase the history of Arkane. And especially with Arkane Leon and Dinga Bakaba being the director at that branch of Arkane, being in charge of Blade, that seems like a match made in heaven. And we talk all the time about having talented studios work with existing IP, you know, Indiana Jones and Machine Games, IO and 007, Arkane and Blade. That sounds absolutely fantastic, especially when you're coming off of what they did with Deathloop. And if you think about how Deathloop was a lot more action oriented while still having some of those immersive sim elements to it, and kind of like the vibe of their storytelling there, all of that would make so much sense in the universe of Blade. And so again, like, this might take a long time. This is going to be an expensive project. It's Marvel. And on the Xbox side, how could you possibly squander a partnership with Marvel when you look at the other end of the aisle, where, like MC Fixer, you said, PlayStation has had banger after banger when it comes to Marvel properties. Every Spider-Man game and Wolverine, people are excited for it, and it looks fantastic. You have a Marvel property under your umbrella with a very talented game studio that has proved themselves time and again. And you're not going to do anything with it? You're going to like squander your potential to work with Marvel ever again, probably.
Literally what I was about to say.
Yeah, I had it in my notes as well.
How terrible is this going to look when Marvel coming like, wait, what's good? Even just the news coming out. They're like, hold up. We gave you our IP. Obviously, I'm sure there was money exchange or whatever, however that works, the back end. But we gave you our IP. We're protective of our IPs. And this is what you do, Xbox?
Yeah.
Come on. This is not amateur hour out here. Like, come on. You know what you're doing. You can't do that to Marvel. Like, Marvel. Like, you do that with some other people. You don't do that with Marvel. No way.
Yeah, it's nuts. And like, I don't know. I think that a Blade game would be really sick to have, just because, like you said, fans of Blade, like, we still hold on to the Wesley Snipes movies as like some bangers, some classics.
Oh,
and we
top of the top.
And yeah, and like, we haven't had much since, man. And this could have been something really, really cool to like hang our hat on, be like, yeah, Blade is back. Blade is cool. People need to remember why Blade was so cool. And yeah, I like stories like this, especially for like Marvel. Like, there are a lot of Marvel stories out there, and there's a lot of Marvel fatigue, especially with the MCU and how much they have like dominated like the box office, right? But there are still like smaller stories within the Marvel universe that haven't had the spotlight in the same way that Iron Man or Spider-Man have had, or any of the direct connections with the MCU. There are a lot of cool stories out there. If you follow Marvel Comics, there are a lot of smaller stories that are very powerful stories as well that can be adapted to other medium. And Blade is one of them. And yeah, if it seems like with Arkane and the idea of Blade, I just don't know how you squander that and how you kind of come back from that. I mean, we talked about like all the different things that they could do with the Xbox IP, but this is like one of the highest marks against you. If you either if you cancel the game and or you shut down Arkane Studios, like, that is a huge mark. Like, there's no trust. You squander a big IP and you squander a storied studio that, like, maybe they don't have the sort of mass appeal as other bigger studios, but Arkane within the gaming community, that is a studio that is legendary, despite Redfall.
And that's the point the only thing I want to add to what you guys are both awesomely saying here is, because Michael, like you, I love immersive sims, going all the way back to, I mean, the first one for me that really just is probably a top 10 game for me ever, if I were to make a personal top 10 list. System Shock 2, Ken Levine, on to Deus Ex from Warren Spector, even Deus Ex Invisible War, which I loved back in the day. It probably wouldn't hold up super well if I fired that one up now.
Yeah, for sure.
But I Thief, of course, like, I love Thief so much. You know, that's more on the stealth side necessarily than the immersive sim side. But that genre, like, if this report about Asha wants the focus on, she wants the tent poles, she wants the big moneymaker IPs. Immersive sims as a genre, as much as we love them, have never really sold. Like, Dishonored never really sold super well. The recent Deus Ex games got amazing reviews. They always got critical acclaim. They didn't sell super well, and Eidos Montreal ended up getting shut down. And even like Prey, as you know, Prey alongside Dishonored. It's so the history of that genre is not one that makes huge money, like sells big amounts. But to what both of you guys are saying, if anything could have changed that, it would have been a Marvel immersive sim in the form of Blade from an accomplished studio. So yeah, to me, that's where it's just like, man, it just hurts. And yeah, if the studio in fact does get shut down, I certainly hope they do not. It would be such a tragedy to lose them, because we really don't, like, they're kind of carrying the torch for the immersive sim right now. It's not to say there might not be a couple of other like smaller teams out there, but it's pretty, that genre is fairly underrepresented in the just period in the gaming scene. So we'll see what happens. Again, probably by the time we do this podcast next week, I don't know if we'll have any updates on any of this stuff, but we'll see. And then before we go, thanks for checking out this clip from Unlocked, IGN's weekly Xbox show. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to watch the full episode at youtube.com/IGN Games. New episodes of Unlocked drop every Thursday on IGN Games, IGN.com, and your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.